You know, they always say that, artists used to be drug dealers. Well, when I was 13, that was definitely what I used to do. I was in Newport News, Virginia, and everybody around me either played basketball or they dealt drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like, even the fact that my family got divorced when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and then that thrusted me into that environment, that was really the thing that exposed me to all of that. Because prior, I had what some would think is a good upbringing, right? Two parents in the household, my folks was in the military and all of that. But this is something that, doesn't get talked about a lot in the music industry, is the root of all the trauma that is put into the music that we all love, right? Everybody loves the music, especially when you got that authentic black person experience. But then it's like no one really empathizes with you when you're navigating them spaces, right? And that's what I notice about the music industry, is they exploit that, right? They make sure that you're not in a place where you can actually heal fully. And so I'm gonna talk about how I learned how to heal, start developing my art, and build what is called the source code, right? This is like a series that I want to work on my Substack. So this is just to let y'all know what we're here to do, right? We're here to tell my story and connect that to the music industry. And then I want to show you all how I'm building that story and creating basically like a directory, an archive, a vault for y'all on Substack, because I really think that that's going to be the best place for me to be building it all out at. So it's like this all came from, my adverse childhood experiences, like being in the streets, dealing drugs, seeing gangs, seeing violence, seeing sex at an early age. Like, hopefully this doesn't get demonetized. But anyway, right? So the reason why I'm calling this the source code is because, like, this was how I was able to teach everybody around me how to actually be in the music business, whether or not they wanted to do it or not. That was the first thing I noticed about being an artist, is most people, they don't want to do business, right? So like 90% of the money in the music business goes to non-artists. So that means accountants, managers, owners, publishers, recording engineers, photographers, venues. You see what I'm saying? This whole ecosystem that's built around the artist, these people make money off the artist, but the artist is only getting 10 cents out of every dollar, pretty much, right? That's pretty much like how much they're getting, is 10 cents out of every dollar. The other 90 cents is going to other people. So I felt like that was super important in the beginning of my journey, where I was like, man, number one, why would I want to be the artist if the artist not making no money? This was probably back in like 2016-ish, 2017, maybe even 2015, when I started talking to my friend Smooth Waffle. He had came from college and had a bachelor's in audio engineering, and I thought he was one of the best rappers I ever heard, especially the stuff that I was hearing at the time. Hip hop was going through a rough phase, 2010, 2015 era, you know what I'm saying? You either had Young Thug Lifestyle, or you had, J. Cole, you know what I'm saying? It was, and these two worlds were totally separate at the time. Now, people that do features with each other. I know J. Cole's album right now got Future on it. So it's like, but back then, there was like a war between mumble rapping and conscious rap, and neither of them were really good. Lil Wayne was falling off. Like, it was a rough time. So, Smooth Waffle, he was one of the people who I thought was really good at music, and I was like, man, I want to do something about this. I want to create an initiative and help him make his money. I got the entrepreneurial skill. He's got the super good music skill. So we came together and we built something called Lost. And I talk a little bit more about that in my Substack. So if you're watching this video, if you're really deep into this story, you should definitely check out the Substack, subscribe, because that's where like these topics are introduced. You'll be able to read about them before I go on YouTube and like deep dive into them like this. And then that's where I'm also going to start keeping my music at, and just show how I'm the innovator and the cultural architect of this hip hop thing in every space that I'm in. I'm just ready to like be more public about it and be online about it. And so my goal for Newports and News, right? That's what this Substack area will be titled, is because Newports and News is me being an executive cool, especially in like black communities. You know what I'm saying? because a lot of times we be so hype about being famous and being an artist that we won't really be paying attention to how much money is going right through our fingers to other people. So my goal fiscally, to be more direct, is like, not fiscally, percentage wise, I wanted to own 30% of hip hop. I wanted to reclaim it from the Warner Brothers, from the Interscopes, from the Universals. You see what I'm saying? For now, you know, that idea is so old. Now we got Spotify and TikTok and all of these other players in the chat. So I wanted to take back 30% of the catalog owned or that's being circulated in the mainstream. And 30% of hip hop makes up approximately like 10% of the entire music industry. So that's what I wanted to do with Newports and News. That's like my overarching big vision. You know what I'm saying? So part of how I started making this happen, right, was, you know, we threw a successful show in 2016 in Virginia, right, in honor of living over society's traditions and monetizing Smooth Waffle's art. He dropped his first album. It was amazing. We made mad money off of it. It was a vibe. And we did most of it direct to consumer. This was before you could just put your music on Spotify. This was the SoundCloud days. All right. So then in 2017, I came to Philadelphia. I started connecting with the people who he had on the album. Those was the people who I started reaching out to next to show them the same game plan. Now, what I learned immediately, very soon, was everybody is not as ambitious as me. Everybody's not as, you know, disciplined as me. Even some of the ideas that I was sharing with Smooth Waffle and my business partner at the time, he wasn't all the way committed to all of that stuff. So I decided to open up a brick and mortar in 2019. And how did I do that? Basically, I saved up the money that I was getting from my job. I was working at this phone store in 2017. I met my new business partner named Jasmine in 2017 to 18. And from 2017 to 18, me and Berlin were still throwing shows. Berlin is Smooth Waffle. I call him Berlin. Y'all call him Smooth Waffle. So it's like, me and Berlin were throwing shows in Philly 2017 through 2018. We threw 2 shows to be exact. We threw the Expo, which featured a lot of notable artists today, right? Cam Della. We had Enda Story, Lava Girl, Free Soul, you know what I mean? Marissa Joy. It was a vibe, I promise you. And then the next show we had artists like Radiance. We had artists like Kiki Rude. We had artists coming from New York. You know what I mean? We've always been the best at curating, you know what I mean? And I will say that I'm a lot of the spirit and the passion behind it to ensure that brown and black and women and gay and felons and, you know, just people who aren't served, you know what I mean, who aren't given these platforms but create these platforms and create these movements. I'm super intentional about ensuring that they get that. So by 2019, I was like, man, I was meeting so many people, like the people I mentioned and the people who know them. I went ahead and got a commercial space for it with Jasmine. So from 2018 to 2019, we planned that out, got the space in 2019, because one day I had to realize, like, I'm giving people nearly $1,000 to rent their space for a few hours when I could be putting that same amount of money into the space to have it for 30 days and be the operator and be the architect that was deeply in my heart. So that's what we did in 2019 to 2023. I was leveraging social media early, you know what I mean? But when the videos was only 30 seconds, you know what I mean? I'm directly selling the space. Yo, come use the space. I'll do your photography and your videography included. So Newports and News was combining
Rugrat reporting from inside Newports and News.
We got performances. Black Gold will be performing some new material. Lost is performing.
I paint. I'll be performing live for the first time. You can buy the tickets at newportsandnews.com.
And I also will be performing, so you can come in April 27th, The Good Life, Newports and News. Be sure to come through.
the media platform aspect that I always had envisioned for it, the cool executive, positioning. And then we also was getting money from events, like almost farm to table. You know that if you've ever heard of that, that's in the like holistic health space for food. It was like farm to table. It was like idea to studio. You know what I mean? I had the whole thing, what's called vertically integrated, and not having to go through so many people to make things happen. And so I decided to close it in 2023 because honestly, I had outgrown it. You know what I'm saying? Like I had really outgrown it. It took a friend of mine to say like, yo, TJ, you could really pop it like this anywhere. Like you don't need the space no more. And I had to realize like 3,000 followers later, and you know, like $50,000 to $100,000 of opening up that space later made me realize like, wow, man, I really did turn this into a business. I really have built a reputation out here in Philadelphia. Like everything that I came here to do came true. And so that's really what this Substack is about, right? It's like where I'm going to be documenting my logic, my passion, my ideas along the way versus y'all just seeing the final product on Instagram all the time. And then this also holds me accountable of doing these videos on YouTube so that I can do a deeper dive on the subject matter, because sometimes you could read stuff and create your own interpretation, which I want you to do. I want you to interpret it for yourself so that you can build and learn. But if you also want to get to know me more and know about the projects I created, you know, in Virginia coming to Pennsylvania, I have a whole music project called VA to PA. If you didn't know that I had a studio, if you didn't know I had clothing brands, if you didn't know these things, this is where I want to be able to dive deeper, answer questions to people in the Substack. And also, you know, this is a good way to like create reach and discovery for people who don't know me. So like, that's why I wanted to make sure I came up here and did this, is to ensure that like I was given some context, and also so that like I could practice articulating the things that I've written, and so that I could be a feedback loop. So that's actually what I'm going to be building first. You know what I'm saying? For the subscription is how I create content from what I call the brain dump, right? I'm going to teach you how to get all your ideas out. Then I'm going to teach you how to synthesize them, create media out of them, collect analytics from them, be able to form a product or service from it, monetize it, and then use that as a feedback loop so that you could, you know, start generating more ideas, right? This is how I've built businesses, built brands, worked with artists over the last nearly 10 years now. So yeah, that's all. I don't want to hold you up too much. Subscribe, like if you haven't already, and I give thanks and praise every single time. We out here in Philly, and I'll catch y'all next time on the next video. Hopefully it'll be something about this project that I just mentioned, as far as building out, you know, something that y'all can actually chew on, pause, and like be able to learn from. So yeah.